The WNBA is getting smacked around from all sides. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out, of course, to the 19. Will Caitlin Clark abandon the WNBA and go play in Saudi Arabia? Yes, that is correct. Saudi Arabia. Now, people have probably heard a lot about LeBron James in a Saudi Arabian league. On the men's side, there's a women's as well. Rumor has it LeBron is no longer involved and that the focus right now is on the women's league because of the growth of women's sports. And this is another problem for the WNBA. Now,
Studio microphone. What if I told you the reigning MVP of women's basketball just got financially humiliated by a rookie? That's exactly what's happening in the WNBA right now. The sports world is reeling after a Saudi Arabian Women's League report revealed that Caitlin Clark, barely one season into her professional career, could be offered a $50 million contract, 10 times more than any current WNBA player, including superstar Aya Wilson. The numbers are staggering. Sponsors abroad are calling Clark a billion-dollar engine for women's basketball. Her name moves merchandise, sells tickets, and fills arenas in a way the WNBA has never experienced before. Suddenly, the league's traditional hierarchy has collapsed. The message is loud and clear. Caitlin Clark isn't just the next big thing. She is the thing. For Aya Wilson, a 5-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, and 3-time champion, this revelation wasn't just a headline. It was an existential crisis. How can someone who's dominated the league for years watch her fame dissolve overnight? How can the face of Las Vegas become a footnote in her own sport? The report didn't just expose financial disparity, it exposed truth. The WNBA's power structure doesn't run on championships anymore. It runs on marketability. And right now, Caitlin Clark owns the market. Studio microphone, imagine giving your whole life to a game, winning everything there is to win, and still being treated like you don't exist. That's the storm Aya Wilson found herself trapped in the moment Caitlin Clark's $50 million valuation hit the airwaves. 4 years, Wilson was the WNBA's face of dominance. Multiple MVPs, defensive awards, Olympic gold, and the heart of Las Vegas championship dynasty. Yet somehow, all of that became background noise the second Clark stepped onto a professional court. At first, Wilson tried to keep it classy. She smiled through interviews, deflected comparisons, and spoke about growing the game. The cracks began to show. Then came the post that broke the internet. What's delayed isn't denied. No names mentioned, but everyone knew who it was for. It wasn't just a cryptic message. It was a declaration of exhaustion. Wilson's frustration was about more than Caitlin Clark's fame. It was about recognition. It was about the quiet pain of watching years of work get overshadowed by one newcomer's spotlight. For Wilson, the rise of Clark wasn't just a shift in the game. It was a mirror reflecting something deeper, that in today's sports culture, dominance doesn't always equal value. And that's where the WNBA's fragile balance began to crumble. Because if the league's most decorated player could feel invisible, what did that say about everyone else chasing her? Studio microphone, when sneakers become symbols, the conversation stops being about basketball and starts being about race, power, and perception. The chaos didn't begin with a jump shot. It began with a Nike contract. Caitlin Clark signed a record-shattering $28 million endorsement deal, the biggest in women's basketball history. A deal so huge it made international headlines. But then came the silence. No rollout, no commercials, no shoe launch, just nothing. That silence spoke volumes. Behind the scenes, reports began to leak. Nike was hesitating. Why? Because they were terrified of the optics, giving a white rookie her own signature shoe before Aya Wilson, a black MVP who had been the face of the league for years. The internet exploded with accusations of favoritism and double standards. Was this about marketing or was this about race? Then came the twist, and it was a messy one. Leaked documents suggested Nike had been working on Wilson's signature shoe all along, under a 2-year non-disclosure agreement. Meaning while fans were fighting for her respect online, she already had her deal locked down. The outrage, the debates, the hashtags, it all stemmed from misunderstanding, timing, and corporate fear. But the damage was already done. Publicly, Nike looked tone-deaf. Privately, Wilson looked overshadowed. And Clark? She became the lightning rod, caught in a storm she didn't start but somehow symbolized. It was no longer about sneakers. It was about who gets to be seen, who gets to be sold, and who gets to be celebrated. And in that conversation, no one was truly winning. Studio microphone. She didn't just join the league. She revived it. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, everything changed. Overnight, arenas that had never sold out were bursting at the seams. TV ratings skyrocketed by over 300%, and her team, the Indiana Fever, once an afterthought, suddenly became the league's most watched franchise. Sponsors couldn't keep up. Merchandise sold out in hours. Scalpers started reselling WNBA tickets for NBA prices. Economists now call it the Caitlin Clark effect, and for good reason. Clark is responsible for nearly 26% of all WNBA economic activity, a staggering number that no player, male or female, has ever achieved in a modern professional league. Analysts predict that her influence could generate nearly $1 billion in revenue by 2025. One player accounting for a quarter of an entire sport's financial pulse. That's not a trend. That's a transformation. But the numbers don't just represent dollars. They represent eyes, emotion, and energy. Every time Clark steps on the court, fans feel like they're watching a movement, not a game. She has turned casual observers into loyal believers. The arenas don't just echo with cheers, they vibrate with cultural shift. Meanwhile, the rest of the league struggles to keep up. For some players, this surge feels like validation. For others, like Aya Wilson, it feels like erasure. How do you compete with someone whose existence doubles your paycheck? How do you outshine a phenomenon that transcends the sport? The uncomfortable truth is that Caitlin Clark has made the WNBA matter more than it ever has. But in doing so, she's also exposed its deepest insecurities, that in a league built on teamwork, one player now carries the weight of its survival. Studio microphone. Is Caitlin Clark a creation of media manipulation, or a marketing miracle that the WNBA didn't deserve but desperately needed? This is where the line between admiration and resentment began to blur. Critics of Caitlin Clark argue that her rise wasn't built purely on talent. It was engineered. They say she's a media darling, a product of ESPN's endless coverage, the NCAA's golden child, and now, the WNBA's cash cow. To them, the cameras were always going to follow her, whether she dropped 40 points or 4. But here's where that narrative falls apart. The numbers don't lie. Clark's jersey sales broke records. Her games drew the highest WNBA viewership in history, and entire cities saw their local economies spike when she played. No marketing campaign can fabricate that kind of connection. The fans didn't show up because a network told them to. They showed up because she made them feel something real. Still, the backlash has been relentless. Veterans who've spent years grinding in obscurity feel sidelined. To them, Clark's success highlights an unfair truth. Dominance doesn't guarantee attention. Charisma, storytelling, and timing do. It's not that Aya Wilson isn't great. It's that Clark's arrival exposed how poorly the league had been selling greatness all along. And so the divide deepened. Was this about race? About media bias? Or about the uncomfortable fact that the WNBA had finally found someone who could make the world care, and didn't know how to handle it? While fans argued online, the tension behind the scenes grew thicker. Wilson's pride clashed with Clark's popularity, and the media fed off it like wildfire. One player became the symbol of hard work ignored, the other of opportunity magnified. And through it all, one question loomed large. Can women's basketball unite around success, or will jealousy keep tearing it apart? Studio microphone. When one rookie's name starts echoing through billion-dollar boardrooms in the Middle East, you realize the game has officially changed. The Saudi Arabian Women's Basketball League isn't just scouting talent. It's hunting for global icons. And according to reports, they've set their sights squarely on Caitlin Clark. The leaked figures were jaw-dropping. $50 million per year, possibly even $100 million to play overseas, plus sponsorship bonuses that could push the total into generational wealth territory. For perspective, that's not just more than any WNBA salary. That's more than most NBA players make in a season. It's unprecedented, it's disruptive, and it's exactly why the WNBA is suddenly staring down an identity crisis. While American networks debate optics and equity, the Saudis see only one thing: profit potential. They don't care about racial politics or shoe deals. They care about numbers, and Caitlin Clark's numbers scream global demand. Her highlights have been translated into multiple languages. Her clips trend in international sports feeds, and overseas fans are literally begging their clubs to sign her. And for Aya Wilson, this was the ultimate insult. Because while she represents everything the WNBA should value: loyalty, dominance, consistency, Clark represents what the world actually wants: spectacle, story, and star power. It's a brutal truth, but one that can't be ignored. Clark has outgrown the league's limits before she's even finished her rookie contract. And if Saudi Arabia or Europe throws open its vaults, what's to stop her from leaving? That's the nightmare haunting the WNBA right now. The moment the player who built its modern identity realizes she doesn't need it anymore. Because if Caitlin Clark crosses that ocean, she won't just take her talent. She'll take the audience with her. Studio microphone. They called it the golden era. But when the cameras panned across the finals crowd, what the world saw wasn't gold. It was empty seats. The WNBA Finals, the supposed pinnacle of women's basketball, should have been a celebration. A sold-out arena, deafening cheers, a statement to the world that the league was thriving. But instead, it turned into a public relations nightmare. Fans tuned in to see history and saw silence. Rows upon rows of unclaimed seats. Even lower bowl sections, where the noise is supposed to thunder, were dotted with patches of empty chairs. It wasn't just bad optics. It was an embarrassment for a league that spent months declaring it had finally made it. The WNBA's official attendance report claimed 13,500, but those who were there say it looked closer to 6,000. And worse, the tickets weren't expensive. Some were going for as low as $18 online, even for championship-level games. So where were the fans? The uncomfortable answer is, they were at home waiting for Caitlin Clark. Because when the Indiana Fever didn't make the finals, neither did most of the audience. Ratings plummeted by nearly 60% compared to Fever games. That's how much gravity Clark holds. Veterans like Aya Wilson and Kelsey Plum gave everything they had on the court: brilliant performances, emotional interviews, but they couldn't overcome the echoing sound of absence. The league's most celebrated matchup turned into a sobering reminder that success built around one star isn't sustainable. It forced everyone, from executives to players, to confront the brutal truth. The WNBA surge wasn't an ecosystem. It was a Caitlin Clark economy. And without her presence, the illusion of unstoppable momentum shattered like glass. Sponsors took notice. Networks hesitated. For the first time in years, people started asking, what happens to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark isn't on the floor? The finals were supposed to be the victory lap. Instead, they became the funeral for a hype cycle that burned too bright, too fast. Studio microphone. When a league meant to empower women becomes a battlefield of envy, you know something far deeper than basketball is boiling underneath. What started as subtle side-eye comments and cryptic posts exploded into a full-blown cultural war. One that has ripped through the heart of the WNBA. On one side, Aya Wilson, the reigning MVP, symbol of excellence and self-made face of the league. On the other, Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom whose name alone moves millions. The tension began quietly. Whispers of unfair attention, unequal media coverage, and racial undertones. But then came Wilson's interviews. She didn't mince words. She claimed there was a difference in how the media treats players, hinting at double standards that favored Clark. Many took that as code for something deeper, a clash of race, privilege, and perception. But fans didn't take it the way Wilson expected. Instead of siding with her, they doubled down on Clark's defense, calling Wilson jealous, out of touch, even bitter. It spiraled from there. Every tweet, every interview became ammunition. The media feasted on it. Headlines framed it as a battle for the soul of the league. And behind the scenes, players were forced to pick sides. Team USA's locker room reportedly grew tense. Sponsorship events got awkward. Even friendly interactions between players became political gestures. It wasn't just Aya versus Caitlin anymore. It was old guard versus new era. Wilson's frustration wasn't entirely misplaced. For years, she was the WNBA, the reliable face of excellence who carried the game without fanfare. But now, Clark had achieved in one season what Wilson fought years for: cultural relevance. The cameras followed Clark everywhere. The endorsements piled up. And IS dominance, though undeniable, was suddenly background noise. That resentment became visible. You could see it in the games: the hard fouls, the cold stares, the refusal to acknowledge Clark's impact publicly. It wasn't just competition, it was personal. But what neither side realized is that while they were busy feuding, the league was fracturing. The unity that once defined women's basketball was dissolving under the weight of comparison. And in that chaos, one question began to echo louder than the games themselves. Can the WNBA survive its own stars? Studio microphone. In a world where everyone's screaming for attention, the loudest person isn't the one who talks. It's the one who stays silent. While the WNBA tore itself apart over debates, interviews, and endless social media bickering, Caitlin Clark did something radical. She said nothing. No interviews addressing the feud. No clapbacks. No cryptic posts. Just basketball. And that silence became deafening. When reporters pressed her about Aya Wilson's comments, Clark smiled politely and redirected every question to the game. When social media tried to bait her with headlines about race or favoritism, she didn't engage. Her focus stayed laser-locked on improving her craft. That restraint, that discipline, spoke louder than any press conference ever could. Because here's what Clark understood. In the age of outrage, silence is strategy. Every player talking against her only magnified her presence. Every dig, every jab, every meme made her name trend again. She didn't need to defend herself, the court did it for her. And it worked. Fans saw her as poised, humble, and focused amid chaos. Even people who didn't like her respected her. Sponsors noticed too. Brands prefer grace under fire. The result? Her endorsement value tripled in less than 6 months. Nike, Gatorade, Wilson, State Farm all doubled down. She became not just the league's most talked about player, but its most profitable. Meanwhile, her silence drove her critics mad. The more she ignored them, the more desperate their attacks became. It wasn't just a personality clash anymore. It was psychological warfare, and Clark was winning it quietly. Because silence doesn't just neutralize noise, it exposes it. When everyone else was talking about jealousy, race, and media bias, Clark's composure forced people to see the contrast between energy spent on drama and energy spent on excellence. It's ironic. The league tried to paint her as privileged, protected, media-made. But in the end, she became what every athlete dreams of becoming: undeniable. And yet, beneath the calm, one more storm was brewing. One that would test Clark's silence like never before. Studio microphone. Every era has that one moment when an athlete doesn't just play the game, but changes it. Caitlin Clark's next decision might be that moment. The question burning across the sports world right now isn't whether Caitlin Clark is the face of women's basketball. It's whether she's about to outgrow it entirely. Because everything she's built so far, the fame, the financial impact, the cultural pull, has set the stage for something unprecedented. There are whispers in every corner of the industry. Global agencies, private investors, and even major media networks are approaching Clark not just as an athlete, but as a brand empire in motion. The talk isn't just about where she'll play, it's about what she'll own. From founding her own sports media company to fronting a female athlete investment group, she's being positioned as the LeBron James of women's sports. And that's where things get revolutionary. Because for decades, female athletes have been faces of movements, not architects of them. Clark could change that. She has the leverage, the audience, and the financial backing to demand something no woman in basketball has ever truly had: control. But with that power comes the risk. If she leaves the WNBA for international leagues, or launches her own independent ventures, she could shatter the league's fragile momentum, potentially taking millions of fans with her. Yet, if she stays, she becomes the symbol of evolution within, forcing the WNBA to modernize, to innovate, to finally pay its players what they deserve. The decision looming ahead isn't just personal, it's historical. The balance of women's sports could shift depending on what Caitlin Clark does next. Will she become the global ambassador for women's basketball, or the disruptor who exposes its limits? One thing's certain. She's no longer just a rookie from Iowa. She's a force of nature standing at the crossroads of legacy and revolution. And as the cameras keep rolling, as the critics keep whispering, and as the world keeps watching, Caitlin Clark has done what no one thought possible. She's made every single person care about what comes next. Studio microphone. The league may have built the platform, but Caitlin Clark built the phenomenon. And the question now isn't whether she'll break the ceiling. It's how high she plans to go once it shatters.